Alright, so I just recently purchased this computer. I paid $500 for it, and the specs were actually pretty good, and I got a steal of a deal on it once I tell you what the specs are. So what did I get? So I bought this with two 1080p monitors, a 2080 Super, i7 9700K, 16 gigs of RAM, a 240 M.2, 2 terabyte hard drive, mouse and keyboard, and pretty sweet deal. So I thought about flipping this computer as a whole, but right now the market, people just buying whole computers, is just not there. And if I'm going to get better bang for the buck, I'm honestly better off just selling off the parts individually, using some for content, and just using some as spare testing parts. So that's what I'm going to do. And today we're going to focus on the RTX 2080 Super on it, because believe it or not, I got a buyer on it, and I didn't even have to post it anywhere. Somebody just said, hey, I'll give you $600 for it. And I was like, you do know what they're going for? And they was like, yeah, I'll give you $600 now. Well, primarily because number one, they trust me, and number two, because they're kind of hard to find in my area. So let me get this thing out of here. We'll talk about the specs, clean it up, and we'll see how she performs. So now I've already fired this up and just tested it just as a preliminary. It does work. It works pretty decent for the most part, but it does have some cooling issues go on. And I think that's probably attributed to some dried up thermal paste and just the lack of efficiency of this case. This was pretty much, and I'm not trying to talk bad about any fellow builder, but this was poorly put together in my opinion on it. So I think by cleaning this up, fresh thermal paste, and if it was in a case or a home that had better airflow, which hopefully the next owner of it will do, this card will perform a lot better. Alright, so this is the Asus RTX. I think this is the turbo variant, if I'm not mistaken. Now this looks like this was a pre-built that somebody bought and kind of pieced together, which, I mean, it's fine, nothing wrong with it. It's actually has some good components. But this one has the whole Republic of Gamer logo and some weird tape thing going on over here that just don't make sense to me, which I probably will, and I'm gonna take that off. You could tell that somebody was in here for whatever reason. So alright, let's go ahead, let's switch to the bench camera. Let's take this thing apart and let's see what's going on with it. Alright, so we got my Arsenal Guggen, 91% isopropyl alcohol, a toothbrush that I don't use to brush my teeth with anymore. Well, I do brush my teeth, just not with this one. The card, Q-tips, shop towels, maybe not this one because this was used to wipe off that dirty computer, and a small tool set for fixing small devices. So now this is one of those cards that would actually tick you off if you were an enthusiast back in the day, back when being an enthusiast was actually fun or annoying, depending on you. So this card essentially was a 2080 on steroids. 2080 Super, right? Go figure. More CUDA cores, quicker VRAM than its predecessor, all that good stuff. And I remember buying my 2080 Strix, saving up all my coins and money, buying it, and then not even a month later, this came out. So, yeah. Released back in July 23rd of 2019. And let's see, what was the clocks? Base clock 1650, boost clock 1850, and the memory clock was 1937. So yeah, dual slot. This is the turbo, and it has a blower design. Now these blower designs are more ideal for small cases where airflow is an issue, so they do have their purposes, but to me, I'm not a huge fan of blower design. This one, it works. Like I said, it works, but it's kind of weird because we have this tape over here which I've taken off, and I think it's pulled off the serial number, so I'm kind of sad on that because I really wanted to look that up, but it is what it is. There is hair on it, yuck, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to return that. Now I haven't been able to find any pictures of this one in particular, and I think this might have been from an iBuyPower exclusive, considering that's the case and setup it kind of came out of. So yeah, and then you have more tape over here, which I am taking that off as well. And this, I'll just clean it up with some Goo Gone and all that good stuff and everything. So what I want to go ahead and do now is disassemble this. And I think I'm going to start with these screws right up here. Yeah, because there are two right up here that connect to the blower housing. There's a couple right over here. Three right over here. I think it was taken apart and just not put back together properly. There's supposed to be two screws over here, so we'll definitely have to source those somewhere. And let's see if anything wants to start moving and freeing itself. Nope, definitely not. All right, so let's take these four off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll just keep taking screws off until this thing comes apart. I mean, that's the beauty of recording, is that if you forget what you've done, this is kind of a reminder. So I think we're gonna have to take out all these on the outside. I would say notate the way these screws came off, but these screws are just all over the place. So I might have to find a guide on where these screws goes, because I'm a little OCD when it comes to that. Bingo. Alright, our card. As you can see, somebody did deal with the thermal paste, and not too much of a good application. It is somewhat fresh, but not their proudest moment. So now for the back, I'm just going to go ahead and just use some Goo Gone and just kind of get all this adhesive tape on there. Which, you know, I'm thinking about this, and I probably don't need to think about this as much as I am. What if they put that tape to hide the serial number and this card is stolen? That would not be good. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this off. And I'm contemplating if I really want to go thorough and take this apart, but I don't see, well, I do see some things. Probably should really clean that up right over there. So a bunch of screws over here. So note to self, pull all the tape. And if we do that, everything should pop off. And now we're good. And the reason for all this trouble is because these blades are just covered in hair and I think nicotine. Pretty sure nicotine. So yeah. So I'm not going to bore you guys with the details, but we're going to take a brush, blow this out, clean this out real good. Same thing with this over here, just blow it out, clean it out pretty good, and then assemble this card back together. Gotta say, I'm pretty proud on how this thing came out, considering that it had all that goop from that tape that was over here. So as you can see, it looks kind of brand new, sort of brand new. The chip looks pretty good, everything looks nice. Got this thing cleaned up pretty good, a lot better. And hopefully it gets rid of that old nicotine smell. That's pretty gross. I mean, this thing was just caked. I mean, every time I wiped it, I don't even know if I think I threw them away, but every time I wiped them off, it just came off with nicotine. Now, it is missing a couple of screws, but that's okay, because luckily I keep old junky graphics cards. I think this one is wow, a GTS 250. Pretty fancy. So I'll be able to salvage some of the screws for that and get this thing going. So let me put it back together and we'll get to performance. Alright, so instead of going through all the performance and the benchmarks, because this is still a pretty relevant and modern card considering it's only 2 years old, the GeForce RTX 2080 Super is, like I said earlier, just a 2080 on steroids. Now this car is loud because we're putting a heck of a stress test on it just to kind of make sure that nothing burns out, and I like using Unigine Heaven, as to me that works really good as doing a stress test. Yes, you can use Furmark, I've used that several times, but this one's more interesting to me and it works really good. So we've been running this for over a half hour. My blower is going 100% because I just want to see where it's at. Well, now it's down to 69, 70, so it's going pretty good, and we're at 70 degrees Celsius, full load, 1080p extreme and all that stuff. Just putting a heavy load on this as much as I can. And she's loud, but she's a solid performing card. Now granted, I had to do a lot of work to her. I mean, she was dirty, she was crusty, covered in cigarette and nicotine, and still has a slight odor of it, but I'm sure as time progresses, that smell will be gone. So let's move on to just one more game test, and I'll wrap this up and tell you my thoughts on this card and the used hustle to sometimes get good deals. Alright, so as you can see, the 2080 Super, we're just playing 1080p ray tracing ultra, and we were able to get 60 to 70 frames per second on Cyberpunk, which is pretty demanding on this. Now, like I said, this car is pretty loud because blower types are just, that's the nature of them, and that's why I'm not a huge fan of them. But considering what I paid for it, this is definitely worth it. So now let's just kind of recap and go back to over here before we close up this video over here. I got this computer for $500. That's right, 500 US dollars, that had that graphics card in there, the i7-9700, 16 gigs, SSD, all that good stuff. I paid $500, not to mention it came with an Asus gaming monitor, the Sceptra, which we could probably get a couple of bucks over it, nice mouse, somewhere around there, nice keyboard. So yeah, now we got to clean this thing up, redo this case right, and get this all fixed together. But considering the value proposition of what I got that and what that's worth over there, I paid $0 for that graphics card, because this computer alone right over here, I can sell this as is, 4 parts with all these monitors, for about 500 US dollars. That's right, guys, 500 US dollars. Not to mention I can sell that graphics card, which it's already sold, for 600 US dollars, and not only I've made $1,100, which means a $600 profit with 1 hour's worth of work and just getting on the Facebook. Yeah, guys, Facebook Marketplace is great. I'm not advertising for them. It is a risk. There were some sketchy pictures for sure, and I didn't know what I got, because when they brought it up to my car, it was like, as nasty and gross as it is, and still fighting the cigarette smell, still got a good bang for the buck. So guys, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Comment down below, let me know your thoughts. How are you guys able to score good deals? And if you like these types of videos, definitely hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, and as always, we'll see what we come up with next.